These are two things that we're seeking. So this, we became quite sure of that. And then as the part on the infinite happiness, we're talking about say, experientially speaking, each one of us, if not 100%, 99% of the people, they've experienced that this love and affection, infinite love and affection, particularly towards the mother when you were very young, that love is the one which marks the infinite joy, incredible joy. And if you can extend to the infinite beings, it's going to be infinite happiness. And this was, I personally would say that one time, yes, for me, my time with my mom, which I just could remember like just a fleeting moments, or just say a single moment of those things. Otherwise, the major part of the memory already faded away from my mind. But those little moments that I could remember, they're very, very memorable, and it would the mere thought of that makes me so happy. And another thing, mind, that this incredible peace came to me was in Singapore. In Singapore, I think 2010 or 2008, when I landed, I know that there are some of my very close friends there in Singapore. I know that, and with whom we have been studying Dharma, and they were anticipating, and I was also anticipating to see them, meet them, and then landing the airplane there, and then I could hear the Dharma music, the modern Dharma music being played in the airport, and the extremely beautiful moment, the mindset, feeling came to me, extremely beautiful. I can't really describe it fully. It's so beautiful. It came to me, and so peaceful. It simply exuded with, say, the love, confidence, trust. It's so beautiful. And this is what each one of us, we had experienced when we were young, like 99%, if not 100% of the people. And this is something which we are which we see as the basis, the secret of happiness, secret of infinite happiness. So from this, what we learn is that the happiness that we are seeking, they also come from the causes, and the miseries which we shun, they also arise from the causes. So knowing that the cause and effect relationship, we must gain a deep conviction in this. And of course, all of us, we have some degree of conviction in the efficacy of the law of cause and effect, where with this cause and effect, with this cause, this effect will come into existence, and I want this effect because therefore I go for this cause. Whereas between cause and effect, there's the two are separated by space and distance in time. Then people can tend to have less amount of the conviction, the efficacy, the correlation between the cause and effect. So in other words, people who can see only, say, the closely connected cause and effect, meaning that cause, immediate effect, who can see only those, and on that basis they act, they are like animals. In other words, they are the children, small child's like. Small child, they would not be happy to go to schools. Generally, there are some exceptions there. They would not be happy to go to schools. They simply want to play on the ground because they see the cause and effect, very short range cause and effect. Okay, if on the playground, I go to school, I don't go to school, I'm happy. So happiness correlated with the immediate cause. Whereas the elders, the parents, they will not let the child always be on the playground. They will somehow make the child go to schools because they can see the cause and effect of a longer range. What the child after 10 years, what the child after 20 years, and so forth. So seeing that cause and effect, which expands over the time or range of time, distance and time, those people are known as the noble beings or wise beings. Those see only the short range cause and effect, they are known as the childlike beings. So those people who are childlike, they terribly suffer. They can easily be affected by emotions. They become too emotional. Whereas who can see the broader range of the cause and effect efficacy, they are more stable and grounded. And everybody has the capacity to see that broad range cause and effect. And the only thing is that we need to be trained in this. For this matter, this class, like all the courses Dr. Nivedita is organizing for all these many years in Mumbai, in Chennai. So these are all for that purpose. So with this in mind, what we do is that we'll recite this mantra, Kedarva mantra, which is a reminder for us. Again, it has nothing to do with some divine beings invoking divine. No, the real divine being is your understanding of the cause and effect, efficacy of the cause and effect, and act accordingly. You will get the result. This is the real divinity. This is the real divine enlightened activities. Okay, so it's for this reason that the Buddha said that you are the master of yourself. Who else is there as your master? The one who tames one's mind is a wise person and will be liberated. So we want to be liberated from the prison of our own mind. So to be well reminded of the efficacy of cause and effect, no matter what happens, I will never give into anger. No matter what happens, I will never give up on bodhicitta. I'll never give up on the unconditional love towards others. So this commitment is what is to be instilled within us as we recite this mantra. This mantra, the meaning is pretty simple. It says that all phenomena, including the happiness that you're seeking and the miseries that you shun, they arise from the respective causes. And what are these causes? They are taught by the enlightened beings, like, say, the selfishness and the ignorance. So eradicating of this, how to eradicate these two, is also taught. To eradicate ignorance, ignite the light of the wisdom. To eradicate this selfishness, just expand the circle of your heart. Expand your heart towards all the beings. And for this, how to do that? That is the meaning of lighting the lamp of the wisdom. Lighting the lamp of the wisdom to how to expand the circle of life. It's not just that, okay, no, you have to cultivate compassion towards all beings so that you'll be happy. You are right now going through stress, depression, cultivate compassion for all beings. The obvious question is how? I try, but it's not coming. How? So this is where we need to give the answers. If you fail to give the answers, there's no point. Just forcing yourself to be compassionate will not make you to become a compassionate. It becomes a mechanical, and it can be counterproductive. So with this mind, we always remember how to curtail the negativities which attract miseries, how to curtail the selfishness so that other cherished mind, filled with universal love, gets expanded towards all the beings. So for that matter, this mantra is extremely a great reminder for us. And let's say this together 3 times. And those of us who know how to recite this, you join me. Those of you who do not know, listen to us and then join us. Let's say this 3 times. Okay. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato hyavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato hyavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham tathagato hyavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. Okay, before we proceed further, we will before we proceed further, we will I will read this. I will read this and explain some of the verses from the chapter 1, the benefits of awakened mind. And if you have this above, so this is, there are many translations, English translations of this. There are various translations by different translators. And usually I use this by the Stephen Batchelor, his translation. I use this for several reasons. One is that say the chapter 1 through to chapter 8 and chapter 10, except for chapter 9, he translated them in the verse form. That makes us easy to refer to and give teachings on. And chapter 9, actually, it is in the verse form, but that is explained in the prose form. So we use my translation, the translation of that chapter 9, the wisdom chapter, which is very difficult one. So we use that part, my version of the translation. Okay, otherwise we use this Stephen Batchelor's translation. And if you have it, well, good. If not, we are doing this screen sharing. The title is The Benefits of the Awakened Mind, which means chapter 1 is a benefit of awakened mind. And the title of the whole book is A Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. A Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And let's say, the Bodhisattva, what does it mean by Bodhisattva? So always let us start from the scratch. Don't think that, they don't try to, let us not bring anything of what we have learned before or preconceptions which you have created before. Oh, Bodhisattva means, somebody like this Buddha. Don't bring these preconceptions. Just let us have a clean start. Bodhi meaning the awakening, Bodhi. Sattva means the courageous one, who wants to be awakened and help all the other beings, who wants to be awakened fully. Okay, these beings are known as the Bodhisattva. And what we discussed this morning, that finally we want the absolute happiness or the infinite happiness, but we push aside the causes of the happiness. What is the cause of happiness? Embracing all others with love. We push others. Instead of loving others, we push others, including shouting at a mother. Okay, I'm sure some of us are doing this, shouting at a mother unnecessarily, right? So if you have been doing this thus far, now is the time to learn how to change it. It's not that you have to change it forcefully. No, with force, nothing works. With force, nothing works. Everything must work with love and affection. Everything must work with common sense and love and affection, nothing with force. So we learn this. From this, we appreciate the love and affection. And then you see that, then we try to take the first step, that is, stop shouting at your parents. Okay, this is number 1. So with this, the Bodhisattva, the beings who aspired to be awakened for the benefit of all the beings, to benefit all the beings. These are known as the Bodhisattvas. Then who has already awakened fully, that is known as a Buddha. Buddha doesn't mean the preacher of the Buddhism. This is not the connotation. Buddha means the one who is fully awakened, who has discovered the treasure inside fully, where the mud which obscure the mind, which obscure this gold inside, the mud is all removed. You can be a Buddha. Anybody can be a Buddha. Jesus Christ, we never know, can be Buddha. Ram, Prophet Muhammad, Mahavir, or Guru Nanak, Baha'u'llah, all these great teachers, we never know who are the Buddhas. The point is that there's somebody who has removed the mental defilements fully and awakened, and who does not have to shout to make things happen. So why we shout at your mother or your father or somebody, or you towards your husband or towards your wife, is that you have something in your mind that it should happen, it's not happening. So to make it happen, you shout and make others unhappy, and then things become worse. It deteriorates the situation instead of helping. This is unwise. So awakening means you're fully awakened how to make things happen without having to shout. This is wise people. This is what we're learning from here. Okay, the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. How somebody who is courageous to become awakened for the benefit of all beings, how should that person lead his or her life? Bodhisattva can be a male. Bodhisattva can be a female. It's not necessary, it's always the male. So how should a Bodhisattva lead his or her life? And so that guidance meaning how to train your mind. So these are all these chapters. There are 10 chapters here. They're all as a means or a manual to how to guide a Bodhisattva, how to say instruct the Bodhisattvas to lead their life in a very wise way, so that you, while helping others, you also grow, that your mental defilements are removed more and more, and then eventually you become the happiest person to export the greatest of the happiness towards your family and towards all the beings. That is the Bodhisattva. Okay. So this chapter, the first chapter, is known as the benefits of the awakening mind. Awakening mind is, in Sanskrit, it is known as bodhicitta. Bodhicitta. Bodhi meaning awakening, enlightenment. And the mind, chit, is the mind which aspires, or which aspired to be awakened. Okay. And the author, this is very interesting. Some of you may already know who this author was. And this author was a brilliant logician, philosopher. And after all, I would say that the clinical psychologist, the brilliant clinical psychologist, and and his intelligence is so profound. At the same time, compassion is so tender and embracing, so beautiful. And so when I first read his chapter 9, I studied, I read, and translated. When you do that, you get a feeling that, oh, this author is so intelligent, so bright. So if I were to be sitting next to him, I may feel myself so inferior. Inferior. For example, like, let's say that if you happen to sit with some politicians, you get a feeling, that very uneasy feeling. You'll get this feeling. Not all politicians, some. You will get very uneasy feeling. Their position is very high, and you feel so uncomfortable, and you feel like you are insignificant. Whereas you may think that you may extrapolate the same thing in your mind. It may happen to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. If I sit next to His Holiness, I will feel nervous. Most of the people, when they go there, the first few seconds, they are a little nervous because they can't believe that this is happening. And then they sit for a few minutes, then this nervousness dissolves. Then they are taking over the chat, right? His Holiness just keep listening to you, and you don't know that you are taking over. They just chatting all the time. You are just saying everything. In other words, you could feel his love and affection. You will not feel that you are insignificant. You will feel that you are somebody when you're with His Holiness. It's all because of his love and affection. So this is something that is known as the awakening mind. With awakening, where this compassion has become extremely expansive, then is so well reflected in your demeanor. So people come to see you, they can feel that they themselves feel so important. Important meaning that, okay, I'm there, by no means I'm inferior. You'll feel that. Whereas with some people, you feel that, oh, I'm insignificant, I have nothing to say. These things happen. Okay, so with this in mind, this Bodhisattva, when I first read his chapter 9 and the studying after the study of my formal studies in philosophy, I could feel that, okay, he's so bright, exceptionally bright, the being. And if I were to sit next to him, what would he be like? For sure, I'll feel my being so insignificant. And then reading chapter 1 and chapter 8, then you feel that no, he's like His Holiness the Dalai Lama. You go there, however brilliant his intelligence is, you be there, you feel that you are next to your mother. This is what you will feel. Okay, this is who this author was. And this author, for information, happened to be in Nalanda Monastic University, a brilliant logician, a philosopher, and incredibly enlightened being. And it was in 8th century AD. 8th century AD. And he was one of the senior-most monks. And people in the monastery, they didn't know his level of the spiritual realizations. They didn't know the degree of the intelligence, degree of the learning, sophistication of learning. They didn't know that because he always remained so unassuming and worst. He always found himself in his bed, sleeping in the daytime, nighttime, sleeping all the time. And then naturally, who will feel respect towards him? Only if you are somebody who knows his depth of intelligence, his depth of compassion, depth of sophistication of his spirituality. Otherwise, for ordinary people like us, we would not at all feel respectful to him. So he was always lying in the bed. So why in the bed always? Because he was in a very sophisticated practice where he deliberately assumed as a very simple person, remaining so unassumed. And this is who he was. And at one point, all these people, visitors, to pay respect to the monastery, they come, and there's the very senior monk, always sometimes door open and like in the daytime lying down in the bed all the time. So the other monks, they feel so embarrassed. We have to do something with this monk. And what do? He was not doing anything bad. Simply lying in the bed. What's wrong with this? But it's so offensive, so disgracing, so embarrassing for the monastery. So the monks, they made the plot that somehow we will just kick him out of the monastery. But how? So we cannot do that because he's not doing anything bad. So let us design a plot in such a way that he will run on his own. How? So some of the monks who were taking responsibility of the monastic university, they said, okay, we will make it a point that the monks should give teaching to the public, and particularly to the scholars, and that too should happen by rotation. Senior most by rotation. Eventually, it will be his turn. Then he doesn't know anything, so he will have to run away on his own. So this was the plan, and because that he was a very senior monk, so his turn came very quickly. And then the disciplinarian and the other monks, they went to his place, and he was in his bed. Okay, sir, tomorrow is your turn to give the teachings. And he said, yes, okay. And then the next morning, the monks, they came just to embarrass him with all these elegant, the gestures to invite the holy teacher to give teachings, to disgrace him, thinking that he doesn't know anything, and he'll feel embarrassed and he'll run away. And he said, okay, sir, now it is your turn. So everybody's waiting for your teaching. He said, okay, yes. Then he headed towards the teaching side. On the teaching side, he noticed that he was exceptional. Just by observing something, he could sense what is going in the minds of the monks. So on the teaching seat was made very high. So high means as somebody very respectable. This was the, say, the common practice in those days. Teaching seat on which the teacher was to sit was very high. And then no ladder to climb there, no steps to climb there. So how is he going to climb up? So he sensed that, and then what he did from distance, he gestures his finger to the seat and gestured it to lower it down. With his finger, it lowered it, and it literally came down. And he went there, he sat on, and as he sat on, then the seat got up. Then he started to give this teaching, the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. And people could not believe this was this monk who was always sleeping. And he started to give the teachings. Everybody was busy scribbling what he was saying. Everybody was busy because what he was saying was so unique, so brilliant, and experiential plus brilliance, both are there. And then the legend has it that as he was given the teaching, he continued to levitate in the air, At one point, when he was teaching the chapter 10, the last chapter, and he was too high up in the sky that many of the people, they could not really hear him teaching, and then he disappeared. So this was the legend part. And then there was discussion amongst the monk scholars whether or not the chapter 10 was taught. Some said that yes, it was taught. Some said no, it was not taught. And then finally they went in search of this great teacher. Finally they saw him in a forest. And then they requested to please return to the monastery. And he said that my time in the monastery is up now. I prefer to be by myself, and you go back. And if you think that what I taught is useful, I already drafted another manuscript. There's another manuscript of my teachings there, which you will find. They say tied in one of the rafters of his hut. One of the rafters there. I tied this up and kept it there. You can use it for publish it for the monks' use. So this is what he said, and then eventually. All the monks went there. They found this text. This is known as Shiksha Samuchaya. Shiksha Samuchaya, that the compendium of the trainings. Shiksha Samuchaya. That is now available in English. I think it was translated since long time ago in English. It is available in English. Shiksha Samuchaya, or compendium of trainings. Okay, so this was the author. And here in this English translation, there may be a slight, the translation, they changes require once in a while. Otherwise, the overall speaking is very good translation. Okay. Okay, so reading the text, it reads, the first of all, as I said earlier, the benefits of awakening mind. Awakening mind, we know what the awakening mind is. Commonly, it is referred to as the bodhicitta. Very commonly, it is referred to as bodhicitta. It simply means within your mind, the desire to awaken this seed of perfection within you, the seed of ultimate happiness within you, seed of ultimate, the fearlessness within you, the desire to awaken this, awaken a mind. Okay, so whenever there's reference to this word, awaken mind, you have to keep in mind that it refers to bodhicitta. Okay. Respectfully, I prostrate myself to the Sugata. Sugatas meaning the enlightened beings who experience the ultimate bliss of the ultimate reality, who are endowed with the Dharmakaya. Dharmakaya is where you are the true seed of your perfection is awakened fully. That is the Dharmakaya. As well as to their noble children meaning the Bodhisattvas, who aspire to awaken this seed, and to all who are worthy of veneration. All beings who genuinely practice the wisdom, who genuinely practice the universal love. Here, I shall explain how to engage in the vows, precepts, or the actions of the Bodhisattva, the Buddha's children. Buddha's children meaning the Bodhisattvas, the meaning of which I've condensed in accordance with the scriptures, in accordance with what the Buddha taught. And there's nothing here that has not been explained before. And now stanza, the verse 2 is his expression of the humility. So because these monks, what made him to give this teaching was not because of a good intention, but simply to expel him. And so he said that, yes, you are right. I have nothing new to teach you. There's nothing here that has not been explained before by other teachers. And also that I don't have any skill in the art of rhetoric. I don't have any skill in composition. Therefore, lacking any intention to benefit. And then, since that your intention is to kick me out from the monastery, so therefore, I came here not with the intention to benefit beings. So this is all expression of his humility. I write this, or I compose this, or what I'm sharing with you is in order to acquaint all these reflections with my own mind, not intending that it will benefit to you, but with your own mind, which means, and then later on, is that whereas if your mind is ready, it can also benefit you. But if your mind is such that, okay, we are just here to test him, we are just here to finally let him be sacked out from the monastery. If this is your intention, you will not be benefited. Whereas if your mind is with a pure heart, you will surely be benefited. So it says, for duty acquaintance with what is wholesome, they say, since that this composition, this teaching that is happening here is so wholesome, is so precious. It's talking about compassion. It's talking about universal compassion. It's talking about how to activate this unconditional love, activate this infinite happiness for yourself, for all the beings, for duty acquainted with what is wholesome, this act of the activating the infinite happiness for all beings, the force of my faith may for a short while. This is a translation. The change we require is the technical. It requires the technicalities in the Tibetan language. So it is there's the force of my faith, of the faith will for sure increase. It will increase. This connotation will for sure increase because of these words. If, however, these words are seen by others equal in fortune to myself, meaning that just as I have a tremendous veneration to the unconditional love towards all beings, bodhicitta, and a wisdom, likewise, if you also have this love and affinity, inclination towards the wisdom of emptiness, wisdom and compassion, you will also reap the same benefit. Equal in fortune to myself, it may be meaningful for them also. Okay, now we see that we have this life, and most of us, we're already in our 20s or 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Saying, how many more years do we have to live? So from that point of view, we see that our life is so short. Those of you who are in your 20s may think that, oh no, it's not short, right? It is still, I'm on the 20s, still I have 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, still it is 60 more years, 70 more years. You may say that, but one day you will become 70 years old. One day you will become 80 years old. When you do become 80 years old, at that point, you say that, what happened the last 50 years? It's like the snap of a finger. It just went like this. Okay, it'll happen to you. Okay, and for elders like myself, I'm sure you had that experience already, but for the youngers, you will have the same experience later. Okay, so our life is very short, yet this life has a full of potential. And in fact, when I was in you know that there are some machines in the big factories. These machines have the capacity to work 24 hours. If you cannot employ the machine for 12 hours, then you may run on loss. These machines can really bring profit. They can work for 24 hours. Which means that if you sleep for 12 hours, if you don't have a replacement, If you sleep for 24 hours and the machine remain unused for 24 hours, it's such waste of your machine. So otherwise you're going to have like say $1 billion, half a billion is lost because you could not use the machine properly. And this body, human body that you have attained, that I've attained, this human body is like that machine, which is so precious, and it can really bring a lot of benefit. What is otherwise seen as impossible for us. So wow, oh yeah, that's so good that if somebody can generate unconditional love and universal love, then person will be happiest. I agree with this, but we cannot do that. We cannot. So this is number one, ignorance, unawareness. Number two, indolence. This is what is happening, complacence. So for that matter, this body, this human body has the potential to bring magic. What magic? To bring the maximum happiness and to get rid of all the miseries. It has this potential. Okay, for example, let's say that if somebody can do some puja, and then you are COVID positive, and somebody does a puja, and then the very next moment you test COVID again and it's negative, you will see that person as the most amazing guru for sure, right? And then sometimes I also share this, that if today in your presence, if I levitate one foot high and I stay there in this levitated state for 1 minute, next day the whole Delhi will be jammed, the traffic jam will be there in Delhi. 100%, millions of people will flock. And tell me, what will you get? Say you are part of this, in the traffic jam, you get stuck there, right? And what will you get? What is going to be takeaway? Your takeaway is only one thing: wow. What will this wow help you? It will not help you even to get a cup of tea. But what will really give you magic is this compassion, unconditional love. If this universal love, if you can cultivate this can give you the maximum happiness. This is magic, not somebody flying, levitating in the air and sitting there for 10 minutes. This is nothing. For you, this is nothing. Okay, for you, it's doable. You don't have to, salute to somebody else. You are flying in the air. You're my guru. No, make yourself a guru. Make yourself fly with this compassion, fly with this wisdom. And this will take you to the paradise of infinite happiness. This you have the potential. So this is what is meant by leisure and endowment. You have the leisure because you have taken birth as a human being. You have the leisure. Your leisure means you have the time to practice Dharma. No excuse. Time to be happy. How to be happy? To create happiness. To create the causes of happiness by cultivating infinite compassion, by cultivating wisdom. And endowment, the intelligence that we have. Whatever degree of intelligence that you have is good enough to cultivate universal love. Leisure and endowment are very hard to find. And since they accomplish what is meaningful for humanity, what do we need? Infinite happiness and fearlessness. This is what we can obtain by the practice of universal love, bodhicitta, and the wisdom with this body. For example, let's say the animals, your pet dog. There's no way by which that your pet dog can understand, say, the E equals MC square. There's no way by which your pet dog can understand what is bodhicitta, but you have that capacity, right? And don't try to do experiment to see whether your pet dog can understand 2 + 2 = 4, right? This is just waste of your time. Be kind to the pet dog, practice compassion, and send the vibration to the pet dog that something, the pet will not sense it, but will get this vibration of your compassion, and let this dog be different in his future life. Okay, and since they accomplish in this body, human body, one can accomplish what is meaningful for humanity, which is infinite happiness, infinite fearlessness. Through this universal love, if I do not take advantage of them now, how will such a perfect opportunity come about again? Just as a flash of lightning on a dark, cloudy night, for an instant brightly illuminates all, likewise in this world, through the might of a Buddha, a wholesome thought rarely and briefly appears. This is so precious and very true. For example, okay, let's say, how many of you have heard about bodhicitta before? How many of you have heard about the six perfections before? If I ask this question, we see that through somebody, and I'm sure from there's many of the students of Dr. Nivedanaji, you are hearing all these through Dr. Nivedanaji. Had it been the case that Dr. Nivedanaji's program is not there, most likely you will not hear what is bodhicitta, what is wisdom emptiness, what is six perfections. You will never hear these things. So even to hear these is so precious, so precious. Even to hear, be kind towards your mother. Even this is so precious. Oftentimes, in many places, we take our mother for granted. And you see somebody else shouting at the mother, and you also mimic shouting at the mother. This is what happens. So whereas attending Dr. Nivedanaji's program, the course, you learn about six perfections, so beautiful, the Four Noble Truths, universal compassion, and so forth. And these are so rare. And how many people are there to encourage such a say cultivation, like Dr. Nivedanaji? So rare. It's for this reason that I oftentimes tell her that you are an angel to so many people. And there are many people who, somehow they feel connected, somehow they're connected. But there are many people who don't feel connected until they see this the Earth program, right? The Buddhist psychology by a doctor, Dr. Nivedana from TIS. Only when you see that, okay, what is this, right? And then you get in, and then you are introduced this vast ocean of the knowledge, six perfections, and all these things. They're so precious. So it's for this reason, it says that just as a flash of lightning on a dark, cloudy night, for an instant, briefly illuminates all. It's so brief. Likewise, in this world, through the might of the Buddha, through the might of some people like Dr. Nivedanaji, a wholesome thought comes to us rarely and briefly. Hence, virtue is perpetually feeble. And look at ourselves. Look at ourselves. If they say the morning you wake up, till the morning you wake up, till you go to bed. Then you go to bed. The next morning you get up. So just just observe your mind, scan your mind to see how many moments of, say, the meaningless thoughts arose in you. How many moments of the mind, meaningful thoughts came to you. Meaningful thoughts are so less, so less, so less. We talk about, okay, my mate is, my mate, I cannot really trust this. Oh, this person has a COVID. Why he is, coming to my place. And then let's say my boss is not, not kind. My colleague, always, there are so many good things happening. There are so many bad things happening. You only pick up the bad things. And when you pick up the bad things, you talk about it, your mind is agitated. In other words, your mind being virtuous is so less, and being non-virtuous is so common. And non-virtuous will take you to more miseries, and less virtuous will take you to less happiness. This is the reality. Okay, hence virtue is perpetually feeble. The great strength of immorality or negativity being extremely intense, and except for a fully awakened mind, for this bodhicitta, your mind, by what other virtue will it be overcome? Will the negativities be overcome? And if you don't remove your negativities, in this life you will suffer, in the future lives also you will suffer. And overall speaking, our life, if you look at a life, is the ignorance is bliss. Otherwise, if you think very seriously, our life is full of challenges, difficulties, and tears. This is reality. And if we don't take care of our mind this time, and this story of a life is going to be repeated life after life. You may be wondering, how do you know there's life after life? How do you know rebirth? How do you know? How can prove that rebirth exists? This is a huge topic, interesting topic, and yet quite challenging topic that we have to keep it a separate time, for a separate time. Okay. So so this, from what we said, at least theoretically, say some people, when they reflect on the kindness of one's mothers, one goes into tears. Okay. And particularly after the loss of your parents, when you reflect on their kindness, you run into tears. This happens. Okay, so from this, we see that this moment of the love that you feel towards your mother, that you feel towards your dad, that you feel towards somebody who is genuinely loving and caring towards you, when you feel that, it makes you run into tears. It's so beautiful state of mind. And if this is something, just imagine, if this is what you feel towards, if all the beings on this earth, they feel the same thing towards other people, do you think that there's a room for terrorism? No room for terrorism. Do you think that there's a room for, say, the border clash? No room for border clash. Think of, say, like 1,000 years ago, the different borders. There's no border actually. 1,000 years ago, anybody can go freely to the other side. So the point is that when there is this tremendous love that you feel towards your mother, that makes you to run into tears. If this is what others can manifest, all this unnecessary, say, the waste of money, resources, and mental energy, they all are gone. And the world will be a paradise, a real paradise can see on this earth. Okay, so this is all because of the magic of the compassion inside, magic of the bodhicitta. So it says, 7, all the Buddhas, all the Buddhas who have contemplated for many eons have seen it to be beneficial, this universal compassion of the bodhicitta to be beneficial. For by it, the limitless masses of beings will quickly attain the supreme state of bliss, will simply be freed of all the fears. When you are, the way Janavi said, when you are such a tender child, so vulnerable, the moment you are next to your mother, all these fears dissolve. You can experience the bliss, the supreme state of bliss. Those who wish to destroy the many sorrows of their conditioned existence, meaning that, say, we have been conditioned. For example, let's say that we need to have all these security passes. Why we need all these security passes? Why we need all these security passes? Because you want this, and these things can go wrong if somebody knows about it, and so forth. So there is lack of security there. And then we need love from many others. So for the Instagram, for the Facebook, you always, ask for, please like me. You're seeking for the likes. These are all the realities of our psychology. All the realities of psychology. We are seeking love. We want others to love you. So, and with this love, you know that there is a joy coming in you. And without this love, that is mental destruction. So those who wish to destroy the many sorrows of the conditioned existence, those who wish all beings to experience the multitude of joys, that when a mother, when the manner in which the mother feels towards the children, wishing all the children have the maximum happiness, when you feel this unconditional love, you'll feel the same towards all the beings. What should they do? And those who wish to experience much happiness should never forsake this awakened mind of bodhicitta. This mind is so precious. Okay. So with this in mind, going back to the same question, can we really cultivate such a mind, universal compassion? Is it really possible? This question. So don't say yes, don't say no. And those who are very convinced that yes, very good, well and good. Whereas if you're not sure, don't say yes. And also don't say no. We should maintain an open mind to see whether or not it is possible. It's very easy to say no. No, it's not possible. Bring any example of somebody who has cultivated this universal love, right? There are 7 billion human beings, and how many? They're all selfish. You will say it like this. Okay, so don't go to such a rash conclusion. Instead, let us say, listen to these brilliant ideas, brilliant thoughts. These are known as wisdom. And where only when you are convinced that, okay, this is possible, then it is your job. Once the materials are gathered, ingredients are gathered, then your job is to cook the food and bring out a very delicious food for yourself. Okay, so with this, it was 2008 when I was in America with Professor Paul Ekman. Professor Paul Ekman, a renowned psychologist. And I was there. I was sent to his place to work on the book, which is Holiness the Dalai Lama and Professor Paul Ekman jointly wrote. To work on this, to see His Holiness's voice reflects there in his original form. So I was sent there. And because all the works, they were being done by Professor Paul Ekman, after getting all the materials from His Holiness, and the office wants to make sure that His Holiness's voice in this book, they are clearly reflected, not in the wrong way. So I was there for that purpose. And I was there for 5 days. And he has been so kind. He was so kind to me, and he really entertained, made me, fully occupied, not making sure that I was not bored those 5 days with him. And every night he would entertain in different ways. The first night was with his family. The second night was with most of his colleagues and friends, all psychologists. And he asked me to give a very quick intro of myself and what I do. So I talked about, the managing emotions, because they're interested in managing emotions. They're all psychologists. And one lady psychologist raised her hand and said that you talked about, the removal of all our, the bad emotions like anger, attachment, and so forth. And I said, yes. And she said, but it's not really possible. It's not really possible. Okay, so my question to you, which I asked earlier, was that whether or not this emotion can be cultivated, unconditional love towards all the beings, whether or not this is possible. And she answered, she already answered, and some of you might have this, say you may flow in the same thought. She said, no, this is not possible. This is not possible. I said, how? How not possible? She said that Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory very clearly indicated that all these emotions, such as attachment, anger, fear, they are all instincts. Instincts. We cannot do anything. Number one, they're instincts. Number two, without these emotions, you cannot possibly survive on the earth. These emotions are evolutionary gifts for you to survive. How? She said, without the feeling of attachment, you will not have the spirit to gather the conducive factors for your survival. So you will not have the conducive factors for your survival without this attachment. Without the anger, you will not put effort to get rid of the unconducive factors for your survival. So you will continue to face with COVID-19. You will not, but Charles said, in a way, many people, they prove him wrong, because they don't care about the COVID. They go out picnicking, partying, no mask, right? They don't care for their survival. But Charles Darwin said that, according to Charles Darwin, yes, the beings struggle for their survival. And perhaps all these people who are not doing this are out of the ignorance. Ignorance is bliss. Yeah. Okay. So the point is that that without this anger, this lady, the psychologist was saying that you will not put effort to get rid of all these threats to your life, and then you will face the threats of life, and you will perish. You'll die. Without the fear, you will not run away from the imminent dangers of the tiger, tsunami, hurricane, COVID, and so you will not run away. If you don't run away, the tigers and lions, they will easily eat you up. They will mull you up. So you'll perish again. So these are the evolutionary gifts. And number two, they are the instincts. You cannot do anything with these emotions. Okay. So anger. Where there is anger, your anger is directed towards somebody. What do you mean by anger? Anger means to push that person away from you. What is unconditional love? To embrace everyone. These two are contradictory emotions. So how can we cultivate unconditional love if anger is an instinct and anger is an evolutionary gift for you, without which you cannot survive? His Holiness the Dalai Lama so beautifully explains that, while this is what the psychologists say today, that the attachment will, let's say, gather the conducive factors for your survival, and the anger will push away the discordant factors for your survival. But if you think carefully, attachment is one which makes you jealousy, which makes you jealous of many other things. And jealousy, likewise anger, and these will erode your immunity. This says the recent scientific findings. The more angry you are, the more jealous you are, more likely that your immunity will go down. Once immunity goes down, your health is at hazard. It is a hazard. So you will die. Now His Holiness says that, why do we have to resort to these emotions, which seem to have this effect to gather the conducive factors, to push aside the discordant factors? Why don't we resort to another factor which will very effectively gather the conducive factors and push aside the non-conducive factors, and meanwhile let you grow your immunity? Your immunity is strengthened. What is that? Love and affection. Where there's love and affection, your healing takes place faster. For example, for the COVID-19, more than the COVID, the fear of the COVID killed many of the people. The fear of the COVID. Many people who contracted COVID, they died not because of the COVID, because of the fear, this fear. And this was what later the medical experts came to discover. And because of this, once you're in the ICU, they allowed you to, here in India, in Delhi, for example, they allowed you to use your mobiles. Otherwise, in the ICUs, usually this is not allowed. So you're allowed to use a mobile to communicate with your parents, to keep your spirit alive, to make sure that your fear is subsided. So we see that these two are very closely connected. And in fact, these emotions meant to gather the conducive factors, to push aside non-conducive factors. In actuality, these factors are destroying you. These emotions are destroying you. Whereas with the compassion and love, you will feel the courage. You will feel your mind so calm, immunity is boosted, and you will not have the problems. And on top of that, the sanity is there. With the anger attachment, the sanity is lost. With the sanity is lost, a judgment, a wise, the ability to judge is lost. Where the sanity is there, you make a proper judgment, a wise judgment. With this, you will thrive instead of perishing. So this says what we need to keep in mind. Okay. So what we discussed this morning was that how to cultivate this. So what we said is that think of how the small child eventually over the period of 3, 4, 5 years time, how the child cultivates the intense love towards the mother. How? What we said is that because the child sees the mother as the ultimate source of benefit. Where you see the source of benefit, then the mind is drawn towards that. The mind getting drawn towards that object is known as mind feeling close towards that. Feeling close to is known as feeling of love. This is how we cultivate the feeling of love. And if you can cultivate the same thing towards all the beings, this is known as universal love, unconditional love, and infinite love. This infinite, because you are directed towards the infinite beings, that becomes infinite love. With the infinite love, infinite happiness. This is how the logic works. Now with this, the question is, how can we cultivate this? So for this, just as the young child cultivates his love on the basis of the reasoning that the mother was the source of your benefit, if we can see all the beings as a source of benefit, then you can cultivate this love towards all the beings, infinite, the love. Okay, how do we see all beings as a source of benefit? This is the next question. Okay, so for this matter, we need to see how our mind works, And finally, whether you're feeling unconditionally loving towards all beings, or you're very biased towards your child, or towards your parents, and so forth. So it's all about your mind, how the mind works. Okay, can anybody tell me? Yeah, that is Shantideva. Yeah, do remember. Can anybody share with us? Say, how many of you have seen ferocious the waves on the ocean? Ocean with the ferocious waves, very scary waves. Raise hands. Very good. Okay. Is there anybody who likes to share with us? These waves, how did the ocean create them? How does the ocean create the waves? How does it create? Anybody? Very quick. Anyone? How does the ocean create the wave? Just give your answer. I'm not looking for technical answers. How the, what is that? Ocean experts, they explain the formation of the waves. No, I'm just asking your thoughts. I rather would be more happy to hear you rather than ocean experts. Okay, anybody? How the ocean, raise hands, raise hands, raise hands. Okay, how many you think you have the answer? Raise hands. How many you think you have the answers? Huh? Oh, only less number of people think you have the answers. What you do? Sorry. Huh? Mingar desu. Kansa? Huh? Chanavi Borsili.
Hi.
Yes.
So the ocean is never still. There is a energy or a current which is continuously passing. Even the interaction with the wind is what creates the waves.
Okay. How many agree with the Janavi hands? How many agree with the wind, the tempest? How many agree with Janavi? Raise hands. Yeah, do that. Okay, most of you agree. Wonderful. Which means that ocean become very rough because of the wind, right? Which means the ocean is not the naughty. Ocean becomes naughty with the wind. Ocean becomes very rough because of the wind. What if the wind subsides? How will the ocean behave? Raise hands. Okay, sorry. Ronga? Dikant ajas to. Ondi. Rupa.
Yeah, I think ocean will become calm and very peaceful. So there'll be no waves, right? Or maybe
yes,
it'll be quite at a very low, what do we call it? Frequency, and very
Very
Waves.
serene.
Yeah, exactly.
Very serene, very beautiful light
Yeah.
waves there. Okay, very beautiful. Very beautiful. It's so beautiful when the wind subsides. Then when the wind subsides, then the ocean will behave in its natural form. And the natural form is so beautiful. How many agree with me, sense? Very good. Okay. Now our mind is like this ocean. Our mind is like this ocean. If this wind stops, right, our mind is so rough, right? Our mind is so rough. Somebody says that, oh, why did you not come on a time, right? Why you're not on time? Okay, so the person's about to say why you are not on time. We had a good time. We had tea and cheesecake together. The person about to say that, right? Why you are not on time? So instantly you interpret it negatively, right? Instantly you can interpret it very negatively. Oh, he's being so strict. She's being so strict because there was a traffic. Right? No, the person may not be asking, right? Asking that, but more sympathetic towards you, that you missed this delicious cheesecake. We enjoyed. I wish that you were here. This is what the person may want to say. Okay, so we defend because there's wind there, wind from outside. So when the wind comes, then the mind behaves very differently. Very ferocious waves can come, right? Sometimes the person who's very calm, and then when the situation arises, we can't believe that is this the same person, right? Okay, nowadays I'm much better. Otherwise, sometimes with that Tibetan staff, sometimes I really have to scold them terribly. And then some of my friends say, "Are you that same person, Dorji, who used to?" Okay, so what I'm saying is that when the wind, then the mind can behave very differently. There are some people who are otherwise very kind, they can become murderers, very dangerous. It's all the wind. What is my wind? External factors. When the external factors calm down, when the wind subsides, how does your mind behave? It's like the ocean. Everyone. And in this world, let's say the Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, and then what is that? The Mongolian king?
Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan. And all these, what are they? Right? I don't mean to demean them. Look at their biography. They're only with killing. This is their biography. Right? For what? Seeking power. And as in seeking power over the external world. So if this struggle for the power is external factor, if that is not there, their mind will be very peaceful. They are not into anger. They are not into, aggression, for sure. So our mind does not behave in its true form. How? What is the true form of mind? This next question. What is the true form of a mind? When all these external factors subside, when the wind subsides, when the tempest subsides, how the ocean behaves, this is exactly how our mind will behave. When the tempest subsides, then the ocean is very serene. People go by the side of the ocean and they take a walk there. They go into deep reflection. They just sit by the side of the ocean to watch the ocean. The simmering water on the surface, so beautiful. Okay, this is what your mind is. So our mind, the true nature, if all these external factors are not there, hypothetically, if they're not there, how does your mind behave? This is what we need to know. Then you will discover who you are, how you have this treasure, incredibly precious treasure, how your mind behaves. Okay, one, that the same that okay, I love my mother, I don't love this person because this person is harmful to me, and so forth. So you create a barrier. So with this thought, there you create a wind, and the ferocious wave to make a demarcation between others and you is created. When this is not there, let's say say a candle in a dark room, you light a candle, and if this candle is put in say a pitcher or a vase, do you think that the light will what happened to the light? The light will be trapped in the pitcher. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Very good. Now let's say if you break the pitcher, what happened to the light? Anybody raise hands? Very quick, raise hands. Okay, Rohini.
It's shared in the room, so it's been shared with everyone. And
Perfect.
it becomes more brighter.
Perfect. So the light simply flows uninterruptedly to every part of the room. How many agree with you? How many you agree with me? Very good. Okay. Likewise, your mind, if all this external, the tempest and the wind stops, your mind will flow to all the beings without any bias. Freely it will flow. This is the true nature of your mind. This is the true nature of mind. Your mind flows freely towards all the beings without any obstruction. Number one. Number two. So where your mind feels free to flow, the prison is broken. The prison is broken. Okay. So your mind flows so freely, that is the infinite happiness, infinite love. This is the one nature of your mind. Now, another nature of mind is that so this is about the mind flowing. Flowing means effective. Effectively, the true nature, effectively speaking, the true nature of mind is to flow to every direction, to every being freely. And cognitively, the nature of mind is very different. Cognitively, a true nature of mind tallies with the reality. What's the reality? The reality is, okay, let's say the glass of water. What I have, let's say, a glass of water there. And if I ask, what is this? Most people will say that this is the water there. And others may say this is H2O. And others will say this is electrons, protons, neutrons. And who's correct? You will say that all are correct. But your effective, the element of the mind, it'll behave very differently to different people. When you see it as water, you feel like drinking it. You see the H2O, you don't feel like drinking it. You electrons, protons, and neutrons, no feeling of the desire to drink it. Your say the effective response towards the cognitive perception object is very different. In other words, how your effective mind behaves is determined by the cognitive part of your mind. How you see the object, that determines how your mind behaves effectively. That's so important. So affective side of the mind and the cognitive side of the mind, these two are very closely connected. Now we are talking about, so effectively speaking, the true nature of mind is to flow freely towards all the beings. This is known as unconditional love, giving rise to infinite happiness. And the other one is, they say, the other one is very interesting. So cognitively, say let's say that how many you heard that your next door neighbor is COVID positive? Raise hands. Okay, many of you. Many of you. Okay, and what was your emotional reaction? Cognitively, you know that, okay, my next door neighbor is COVID positive. The first time you heard it, what is your effective response? Anyone raise hands? Raise hands. Huh? No one. No response. Okay. Prashantji. Prashant.
Can I
Yes.
be of any, would they need any help? Would they require any help?
Oh, wonderful. That's amazing. Okay, anybody else? Thank you so much, Prashant. Shubhra.
For me, it was more of fear.
Yes. Yes, that's very true. That's very true. In fact, last year, first, it was during the Delta, not the Omicron. It was during the Delta version here in Tibet House. We first discovered that they were few of them tested positive. And then even my immediate neighbor was tested positive. So we ran from that, my residence to the Tibet House office. I moved with a fear, right? Of course, I need to help, but first, before helping, I should make sure that I'm healthy, right? If I'm positive, COVID positive, how can I help, right? We should be realistic. So I ran to the office, and then in the office, again, we found 5 people positive. No place to run. No place to run. Okay, what I'm saying was that, yes, of course, the responses are different. Some people, okay, yeah, so it happens. It can happen to me also anytime. To be very honest, it can happen to me also. With this conviction, okay, in whatever capacity I can be of help to somebody else, I'll do that. And I'll try my best to not become sick. And if I do become sick, so what do you do? This is what happens to anybody, even to presidents, prime ministers, kings, queens. And who am I to say that I should not be sick? So with this, your mind will be more calm. And then, yes, of course, there's a fear there, response there. So in other words, effectively, a mind responds like fear, or okay, now give up, or okay, yeah, so what? You know, if I recover, well and good. If not, so what? So there are different responses coming on the basis of your cognitive thought process. Cognitive. Oh, what is that cognitive thought process? Oh, my next door neighbor is tested positive. In other words, you come to discover a fact. It's a valid cognitive thought process, and invalid cognitive thought process also there. Some rumors are there. Your neighbor is not a COVID positive, and somebody says your neighbor is a COVID positive, and cognitively you think this is a distorted cognitive thought process. So we need to make a distinction between these two. So in other words, our affective mind is the one which makes you feel happy, not happy, and so forth. And the cognitive thought process is the one which gives direction to this affective mind. So in other words, say, in order to feel, as I said earlier, be kind to yourself, be wisely kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself means that, so let your mind feel the ease. Let your mind not feel the fear. And how to do that? Be wisely kind to yourself. So cognitively, you must be so wise. What does this cognitive thought process, what is it constituted of? This question. So this cognitive thought process, this is so important for us. In other words, with this attending the, Dr. Niveditaji's program, the course, we need to learn how to enrich our cognitive thought processes. And that too to be related to your affective thought process, to let ourselves feel ease, feel fearless. This is so important. And this cognitive thought process, in the Buddhist psychology, there's a mention of the 4 attributes of a cognitive thought process. One is the broadness of the knowledge. The broadness of the knowledge is so important. The vastness of the knowledge, number 1. Number 2 is the profundity of the knowledge. The profundity of the knowledge. Profoundness of the knowledge, number 2. And number 3 is the fastness of your knowledge, fastness of your thinking, thought process, the fastness of the thought process, the fastness of the wisdom thought process, And finally, the clarity of the thought process. These are different, all different. One is the broadness, then the profundity, then the fastness, and the clarity. So if you have all these four, then the effect is going to be very beautiful, very beautiful. Your effective side, you can really see that your mind easily, freely flows to all beings, and your mind is not trapped in any obstructions. Okay, so with this, the next part is about I say the cognitively speaking, how to free yourself from this cage. So cognitively speaking, this is very interesting. The prison and out of prison, these two are simultaneous. Cognitively speaking, prison, being in prison, being out of prison, it is simultaneous. It depends. Are you in prison or not prison? You cannot say both. You cannot say that. Both states are there, and you choose one. Both states are there simultaneously, and you choose one. And if you choose for A, the B is also with you, but you don't feel it. If you choose B, A is also with you. You don't feel it. It is like example that I gave this morning. Mount Kailash. You want to see the beautiful Mount Kailash or unclean Mount Kailash? Both possibilities are there, right? You put on the dirty goggles, you will see the dirty Mount Kailash. You put on the clean the goggles, you will see the clean Mount Kailash. And both simultaneously exist. And you choose one. You cannot have both. You choose one. So likewise, say cognitively speaking, the prison and outside the prison, freedom from the prison, both are simultaneously within you, and you choose one. Okay, how does it work? To give you, because that this is not what you're going to focus more in this time. This time we'll focus on the other side. How to let this mind freely flow by making sure that the external factors will not have, the tempest does not have any role to play. The tempest is cut, and that your mind freely flows towards all beings. Okay, that is our main focus for today and for the next Saturday. So this part about the prison and the liberation from prison. So these two are simultaneous. That is purely on the cognitive side. I'm quickly give you just a quick insight into this. Is that, let's say, it is like, say, you. Okay, how many of you had nightmares in your dream in your life? Raise hands. Okay, all of you. Okay, nightmares. How many of you feel it so fun? Full of fun to. It's full of fun to have nightmares. Raise hands. Oh, no one feels fun to have nightmares. Nightmares, I don't want.
Yeah.
Raise hands.
Okay, you set up.
Why?
Nightmare, I don't want. Raise hands. Okay, good. Okay. Now let's say that you are in your cozy room.
Is this?
You are in your cozy room, and with your very loving family members, and you fall asleep, and you start to have a dream, and actually you are having a nightmare being in a war, the horror of the war. You are just trapped in the middle of the war. Okay, there's tremendous nightmare there. Now, so you being trapped in this war in the dream, that is the prison. You don't want that. That is like to be in prison. And then simultaneously, you are in a cozy room with your mom, with your dad. With your mom, with your dad. You are in a cozy room. These two are simultaneous, right? You're in the dream, nightmare, and you're also in a cozy room where there's no fear. Only your dad, mom, and your family members. Okay, how many agree with me? These two are simultaneous. Very good. So now it's up to you. You want to be in the nightmare, in the dream, or you want to come out? That's up to you. You cannot do both, right? So since that, what's the problem with the nightmare? Is that it is cognitively distorted. Because this nightmare is not true. The contents of the nightmare is not true. You created it and you forgot that you've created it. It is your cognitive distortion. How many agree with me, sense? Very good. Now when you come out, nightmare stops. Why? And your fear stops. Why? Because that you are able to fix this cognitive distortion. You are able to fix the cognitive distortion. In other words, with the cognitive distortion, invariably you suffer. Invariably you suffer. The moment the cognitive distortion fixed, you're freed from this fear. You're free from this problem. So these two states, the cognitive distortion or the cognitive, the valid cognitive cognition. So these two can coexist depending on which situation you are in, coexist. But the thing is that you go for one. Okay, so when you cognitively speaking, when you wake up, you're freed from the prison of the nightmare. It's for this reason that the Buddha is revered as the fully awakened being. Buddha is revered as the fully awakened being. And anybody who wants to become a Buddha, that mind is known as the awakening mind which wants to be awakened from the sleep of ignorance. And a person who's having this mind is known as the courageous one to be awakened, courageous one to seek awakening, the Bodhisattva. Okay, so with this, what we discovered is that the true nature of mind without the influence of the tempest, like the ocean of a mind, is so serene, so beautiful. The light which permeates through every part of the room. This is the true nature of mind. So now, if that's a true nature, what is that wind? That wind, twofold. One is which stops the mind from flowing to every part of all sentient beings. One. Other one is cognitive distortion. Cognitive distortion, which stops you from seeing the reality. Okay, these are the two problems which stop your mind to feel the true nature of mind. Okay, now question to you is, what do you think? I'm not waiting for a technical answer. I just want your answer. What do you feel? Say, from what we have learned thus far, tell me, what stops you from letting your mind flow freely towards all the beings? Flow freely means feel close to the beings. It moves, your mind moves closer to the beings. This is known as feeling close. What stops you from letting your mind feel close towards all beings? Anybody? Raise hands. Raise hands. Okay, no one. Okay, Shubhra.
I feel it's difficult for us to start being closer to people because we are trying to control what's coming externally to us. We're trying to control the amount of wind, if I could say that, the amount of wind. If we are the ocean, we're trying to control the amount of wind that's coming, and we fear that it will just create more turmoil for us.
Okay, say, what made you feel that? What made you feel that, okay, I should control the external, otherwise it can create more turmoils on me? What made you feel that?
Just maybe not knowing how to manage my internal or control my internal turmoils.
Okay, do you feel the same thing towards your neighbor? Oh, neighbor, he must be protected from the outside things. Otherwise, he or she will have the turmoil. Do you feel it towards the neighbor? Because you don't know how to tackle it, right? You don't know how to tackle yours. You don't know
Yes.
how to tackle others. Why only with yours?
I don't know.
Okay. This is the fact that this question, yes, I don't have answer to this. This is when we have to, we are identifying the way I need to work on. Thank you. Sumit?
Yeah.
Shupra?
Yes.
No. Sumit?
Yes, yes. So I would feel the reaction. We always have a preconceived notion that if I am smiling towards somebody, so others should be smiling towards me. If I'm compassionate, so I need the same reaction from the person.
Wonderful. Expectation in
correct.
return. Expectation in return for what you have done. Okay. Okay. So I'll say what makes you to have this expectation?
If I am feeling the same way, the other person should also feel the same way. We can say that.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So this is where, now look, I say these are the things that we see the benefit of taking part in like Jordan Nivedita's program. So we learn how to question our psychology. Question, okay, why I'm thinking like this? So if you keep going like this, then you'll find the ultimate culprit, which blocks you from letting your mind flow freely. Once you catch the mastermind, once you arrest the mastermind, get rid of this, your mind will automatically flow freely towards all base. You're getting it? Okay, good. Okay. Anyone else? Oh, Vinitaji.
Geshe-la, because of our selfishness, our self-centered attitude, we don't have that desire. We don't see others as a source of benefit. We're so focused on benefiting ourselves.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vinitaji. Yes. So what Vinitaji, many of you may think that, okay, suddenly she jumped to something point. I don't really get it. So it's pretty easy, meaning that my mind does not flow towards others, but my mind is totally engrossed in oneself. How many agree with me? Your sense? Totally engrossed with myself. This is not always self. Others is so less. Self is always okay. Now what will I have for my lunch? Right? Oh, what will I have for this one? The Christmas, right? What present again? I have to give presents to my relatives and friends. Okay, Christmas is very expensive. Or sometimes Diwali is very expensive. Sometimes Tibetan New Year is very expensive, right? But when you give the presents, you hide your feelings, right? You smile and give the presents, right? And meanwhile, you have the expectation return. When that does not happen, again agitated. Okay. So the point is that the way our mind is, if you very unbiased, objectively, if you look at how our mind works, say 24 hours, our mind is with I, my, me, is all about this. Like, if not, out of the different moments related to others and myself, 90% is with me, and my, and me. This I, this is it. And the maximum 10%, only for some really evolved beings, they can be like 60% of others, 40% of yourself, 70% of others. In other words, self is the center of your focus. So this is known as what Vinitaji calls as the self-centered attitude. So this self-centered attitude, naturally, it makes your mind, the whole energy is driven inward towards the self. It does not allow the energy to move towards others. So this self-centered attitude is the one which blocks you from letting your mind freely flow. That is the wind. That is wind which creates the ferocious wave on the way or on the ocean. And the other wind is the wind of the ignorance, which makes you to stay in the dream, which does not allow you to wake up. The ignorance, the wind of the ignorance. This is another factor which serves as a tempest to stop the real manifesting the real nature of the ocean of your mind. So these two. Now, how to get rid of these two? How to get rid of these two? This is so important, so important. Okay, so of the two, for this the 2-day session, 2-day program is about the first part, which is how to let the mind get rid of the selfishness, and to let the mind freely flow towards all beings. That is our focus. And of course, the Tibet House, we invest a lot of time on how to wake up from the sleep of ignorance, how to cultivate the vision of the reality as it is. So that is a major focus of Tibet's programs. Meanwhile, the pedal to that is how to let a mind flow freely towards all beings. So what we have learned thus far is that what blocks our mind to flow freely towards all beings is a self-centered attitude. And they say, according to Charles Darwin Dictionary, there is no mention that a self-centered attitude is your evil. It's the evil force which makes you suffer. There's no mention of that. Meanwhile, I personally have an incredible great respect to Charles Darwin, because it is one, I'm not because of his being very kind, compassionate, no, because of his genius, being a genius. One person talked about all this huge genre of knowledge of the biology, of the evolution. It's amazing. I really admire the brilliance. Okay, at the same time, doesn't mean that all what he said is something true. So, with this mind that the selfishness, and there also is a mention of the selfish genes. It says that our genes are designed in such a way that they're very selfish. And some people they go to extreme saying that the human beings by nature they are selfish. Answer is no. Answer is no. And you may argue against me that yes, of course, look at the small children, right? Age 1, age 2, age 3, extremely selfish. So these children, they will tell you the true nature of the mind of the human beings. Nobody taught them to be selfish, but they're very selfish. One time, I was extremely fascinated. I was so much into psychology. And the moment I meet small children, I watch their psychology, how the mind works. I meet somebody, say the short-tempered person. Again, I observe the psychology. And I meet somebody very compassionate. Again, I observe the person's psychology. Someone who is very intellectual, into psychology. Someone who is so money-minded, again, into psychology. I'm so happy. It is like one of my favorite things to do, to watch the psychology of each of the individual people. So there was one of my relatives, one of my cousins came with her 2 children. And the elder child was age, I think about like 7 or 8. And the younger one's a son. He was, I think, age 3. And knowing that both of them are coming, I prepared some presents for them, the chocolates. And they came and I gave each one of them the same 2 chocolates, one each to 2 children. Then the younger one, he opened his packet and started to eat the chocolate. And the elder one did not open, just kept it there. Then we had the meals together. We were together for about like 3 or 4 hours. And then my cousin was leaving. And then they're preparing. Okay, where's my chocolate? Where's my chocolate? And the younger one was grabbing at the new packet which was his the sisters. And the sister, no, this is mine. And they always, no, this is mine. And the mother, mother just, the younger one's younger. So the mother said, okay, no, give it to him, it's fine. And the younger one got the new packet, and the elder got the half one. And once the younger one, he was just like age 3, believe it or not. I was just observing him and his psychology, and got this, having received this the new packet. He was so happy. So what he did, he went to his sister, and he was caressing his sister's face like this, saying that don't worry, it's fine, don't worry. He was just consoling his sister. I can't even imagine like this. I cannot be that, I would say, bad street smartness, right? Where did this boy learn from? From where? Nobody taught him. Extremely, I would say cunning, right? Getting all what he wants, and finally console the other person so that she may not fight back. Consoling, it's okay. Where did this child, age just 3, where did this? I know the mother so well, I know the father so well. They're not like this. Who taught this? Nobody taught. He brought it from somewhere. He is in a physical young body, but the mind was from the past life, Yeah. So this is what it is. So what I'm saying is that many people argue that the basic nature of human being is not gentle, it's very aggressive. And for sure, that's not true. Even this child behaves like this, it is not his true nature. It is also conditioned by many factors, not only in this life, from the past lives. Okay, we stay away from the topic on the past life for the time being. For time being, it is how to make this, if this is true nature, how can we make it manifest? So to simply put, what we said is that we can do it, that it's not that if you ask me that the anger that we have, attachment that we have, fear that we have, are they instincts? I would say 100% yes. But I may deviate from what Charles Evans said. Instinct doesn't mean that we cannot get rid of them. It doesn't mean that we cannot get rid of them. Be the instinct still that can be got rid of. We can transform them, because everything is dependent originated. Everything is dependent originated. Even these instincts, they come into being by dependence on other factors. You change those factors, even these instincts will be changed. Okay, so with this in mind, how to change this, the basic behavior that we have, which otherwise is very selfish in nature. How to remove this? Okay, so this selfishness is what? Seeking happiness for oneself. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Good. So this selfishness is seeking happiness for yourself. And what the Buddha says, that there's nothing wrong in expecting happiness for yourself. And we should be very realistic. Don't say that we should be compassionate towards others. You have to sacrifice yourself. No. If this is your attitude, you will end up in burnout. You will end up in burnout cases where, say the doctors and nurses, after so many hours and hours and hours and days, months taking care of the COVID patients, and they feel burnout. And your mother had been taking care of you for hours, 24 hours, the days, months, years and years, never burn out. Why? Because of the love. So now the point is that how to build this up. So the point is that we should be very realistic. If you force somebody, you should be kind towards others, this will not work. It'll easily make you end up in burnout cases. So where we should be very realistic. The reality is that day one we are born crying. Crying for what? I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. Not that the other baby who is born, newborn, is hungry, thirsty. No. I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. This is how we are born. How many agree with me in a sense? We should be very realistic. We should be very realistic. By being very realistic, okay, this is who I am. I have to start from there. Don't start from the air. Start from the ground. And the ground is that there's day one I was born crying for my own self. I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, and so forth. Okay, now this is reality. From this reality, don't be ashamed to say that I'm born as with the selfishness. Don't be ashamed of that. In fact, there is nothing wrong in that. You want happiness. There's nothing wrong in it. Don't be ashamed of that. When does it go wrong? Is that when you become unwise. When you become unwise, you seek your happiness at the cost of somebody. And then, okay, I can compromise. I can say that if you seek your happiness at the cost of somebody, and if you get the maximum happiness, go for it. But you will never go for it. You will never get it. You will never get the maximum happiness when you do something at the cost of somebody else's. So the point is that how can we then how can I get it? How can I let my mind flow freely towards all beings without forcing myself? Don't force yourself. Always let it happen naturally and wisely. How? Take the example of this young child. How this child, over the span of 3 or 4 years, from the time the child was born, how this child developed this intense love towards the mother and the father. How does this child develop? By seeing the other person as a source of your benefit. How can we see the benefit of all the beings? Only if I see the benefit of all the beings as a source of benefit, then my mind, no doubt, will flow towards all the beings. How many of you agree with me? How many of you think that, okay, this is sensible? That only if I see all beings as a source of benefit for me, my mind will no doubt flow freely towards all beings. Raise hands. Very good. Okay. So if you are convinced of this, then our job is how to see the benefit of all the beings. So this Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life by Bodhisattva Shantideva, what is that? Is that this instruction on how to cultivate this unconditional love towards beings by seeing all beings as a source, ultimate source of benefit. That is something which many people cannot digest, because of which this teaching is identified as a confidential teaching. A teaching to be taught to only those people whose thinking is little elevated, or a little advanced to able to digest and process this teaching. Okay, how many of you think that you are elevated? Raise hands. Ready for this teaching. Okay, I'm joking. So I'm sure the fact that you're connected with Dr. Nivedanaji means that you are already mentally, you are prepared to learn these things. That's for sure. Okay, with this mind, this takes us to another complicated question. The question is that we talk about all the beings. Forget about seeing the benefit of all the beings. I can't even think of all the beings. I don't know even the 7 billion human beings. It's only the number that I learned from a book, that there are 7 billion human beings on this earth. How do you know that? How do you know all these beings? Never mind, it's not necessary that we have to know each and every individual being. It's not necessary. So a wise approach is to classify all these beings into 3 groups. Those who are near and dear to you. Those who are difficult. And those who are neutral. Okay, if you classify the beings into these 3 categories, those who are near and dear to you, those who are loving, caring towards you, and those who are neutral to you, and those who are difficult, complicated, difficult. If you classify the beings into these 3 categories, then I can't imagine anybody who does not fall under any of these 3 categories. How many of you agree with me? Raise hands. Thank you. Good. So now that at least we're able to map all the beings into these 3 categories. With this, now, okay, how can I see the near and dear ones, the first group of the people, as a source of benefit? That's pretty easy. That doesn't require any explanation, right? That's what almost all how the world is operating now. Whether educated, uneducated, whether girl, the male, female, or from this group, that group, everybody. So then almost like say 90%, 99% of the people, they operate on that basis. People survive on the basis of the love of somebody, right? And you know these people, they are so loving and caring, and then your mind flows automatically towards them. You know that. Okay, once in a while there may be a little complication here and there. That's fine. Otherwise, generally speaking, your mind flows towards them. That does not require any explanation. Okay, how many agree with me? Raise your hands. Very good. Now the complication is with the neutral beings and with the difficult people, particularly difficult people, right? Okay, how many agree with me? Particularly difficult people. There's no way, no way that my mind should flow towards these beings. Don't tell me, Dorji, don't tell me that, right? You can tell me be kind towards others, that's fine. But don't tell me be kind towards those difficult people, right? Okay. Okay. So in fact, don't think that you are alone in that category, that the difficult people my mind does not really flow towards them. No way. That was what happened to me also when I was 19 years old, 20 years old. From high school, I joined the monastery, my first monastery, Institute of Buddhist Dialectics. There, I was so keen on the practice of the universal love. I was just studying them, attending His Holiness's teachings, and noting the points as His Holiness gives the points, the sevenfold, say the cause effect, the method, and the equalizer exchange method. I was noting all these points and actually trying to practice. So it was done like years after years after years. And don't tell me, okay. One thing is that there is still one person who is extremely complicated since I was very young, very complicated. And in those days, the mere thought of this person makes me go into ravage, agitation. The mere thought of that person when I was in my okay, I will not give you too close a clue, say like 19, 20, can be even before that also. So around this irritation. Then, but what am I doing? I'm practicing bodhicitta, unconditional love towards all the beings. So nice. Then step 1, step 2, step 3, 4, 5. Okay. Let's say the great compassion, altruism, step 6, then step 7, bodhicitta, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. The moment I say this, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings, this person hits my mind, strikes my mind, and he says, except for this person. Right? May I become Buddha for the benefit of all beings except for this person. It was natural occurring to me when I was in my 20, 21, 22. Okay, I can't really digest to wish something good for this person. That was back in when I was very young, like 20, 21, or 19 even. Okay, so then as I study more, then I'm to come to discover that, what are you doing? You are deceiving yourself. On the one side, you are saying that, may I become Buddha. Buddha means it's possible only if you love all the beings. And you said that except for this person. Except for this means it's not universal love. Without universal love, Buddha is not possible. So you have to give up your bodhicitta. You have to give up your the aspiration for Buddhahood. Oh no, if then this is the greatest thing. I want the greatest thing. Right? If I want the greatest thing, you have to embrace everybody. No, I don't want to embrace everybody, which means that I cannot have the effect without the cause. Now, I do not want to embrace the cause. I want the effect. I want to have the PhD degree without going through the PhD, writing PhD thesis. This is what I was looking for, right? Which is totally impractical, totally unrealistic. So we should be very realistic. Okay. In other words, that we have to see how to cultivate this, I say, the universal love. even towards the difficult people, most difficult people. And then the neutral beings. Okay. Yes, you're waiting for this. We have another 4 minutes. Okay, so before the point is that after this we'll have 1 hour question answer session, and I'm not too sure. Usually it so happens that sometimes no question coming from the audience, and please during this half an hour break, I want you to. I'm sure Dr. Nivedita there is some plan how to organize this question answer session, because if there are no questions, then we have to wind the next session very quickly. So sometimes it does happen. Sometimes there are many questions coming up, and sometimes no questions at all. So I'm just wondering. One thing that I would say is, if you can come up with your questions, and questions, if possible, instead of verbally saying something. If it is short, it's fine. Otherwise, sometimes it becomes like a lecture. Questions become lecture, and then lecture takes like 15-20 minutes. So the best thing is if you can write your question down to make it succinct, and this would be better. Whereas if your question is really short, then I don't mind, but I don't know how Dr. Nivedita's plan for this next session. Any idea, Dr. Nivedita?
No, Geshe-la, that sounds lovely. Those who have questions could type it into the chat. And if there are similar questions, that way we can also club it together, so that it's easier for you as well to answer it, and all of the queries could get addressed. And if there are too many, Geshe-la, then I don't worry about that there will be no questions, that they've already started coming. If there are too many, then maybe we can shift some of them to next week as well.
Perfect. In fact, Dr. Nivedita, what we can do is that you can select the questions, and you can read it to make it succinct. Read it, that will be easier. Yeah, to make sure that the questions are not too lengthy. Yeah. Okay, thank you. See you in half an hour.
Thank you.